Welcome, dear listeners, to another spine-chilling episode of our haunted storytelling series. Tonight, we delve into one of the most eerie and unsettling aspects of the supernatural world: haunted graveyards. These final resting places, meant for peace and remembrance, often hold dark secrets beneath their weathered tombstones and silent mausoleums. Across the United States, there are countless cemeteries rumored to be haunted by restless spirits, tragic souls, and vengeful entities that refuse to leave this world behind. Some whisper through the rustling leaves on a quiet night, while others make their presence known with ghostly apparitions, unexplained voices, and even physical encounters. Haunted graveyards have long fascinated paranormal investigators, historians, and thrill-seekers alike. Whether it's the lingering energy of those who met untimely deaths or the residual echoes of past tragedies, these burial grounds seem to defy the natural order of life and death. In this journey through the most haunted graveyards in the USA, we will explore locations steeped in mystery, where visitors claim to have experienced inexplicable phenomena: cold spots, phantom footsteps, shadowy figures, and even full-bodied apparitions. From the fog-drenched tombs of New England to the desolate burial grounds of the Deep South, each graveyard has its own unique history and terrifying tales that continue to haunt those who dare to visit. As we step into these sacred yet ominous spaces, we must ask ourselves, what compels spirits to remain tethered to the living? Are they trapped by unfinished business, or do they seek justice for wrongs committed centuries ago? Perhaps some simply cannot bear to let go of the world they once knew. Whatever the reason, one thing is certain: these graveyards are far from peaceful. They serve as reminders that death is not always the end, and sometimes, the past refuses to stay buried. So, if you're ready to uncover the chilling histories behind America's most haunted burial grounds, then join us as we venture deep into the shadows of the unknown. The history of haunted graveyards in the United States. The concept of haunted graveyards in the United States is deeply rooted in both historical events and cultural beliefs surrounding death, the afterlife, and the supernatural. While the idea of spirits lingering in burial grounds can be traced back to ancient civilizations across the world, the American fascination with haunted cemeteries gained momentum during the 19th century, particularly in the wake of major conflicts such as the Revolutionary War and the Civil War. These wars left countless soldiers and civilians dead, many of whom were hastily buried in mass graves or poorly maintained cemeteries, creating an environment ripe for eerie legends and ghostly sightings. As communities mourned their losses, stories emerged of spectral figures wandering through battlefields and graveyards, believed to be the restless souls of fallen warriors unable to find peace. Beyond war-related hauntings, the development of urban centers in the 18th and 19th centuries also contributed to the rise of haunted graveyards. Many early American cities had burial grounds located within their boundaries, often adjacent to churches or town squares. As populations grew, these cemeteries became overcrowded, leading to unsanitary conditions and, in some cases, the exhumation and relocation of remains. This practice disturbed the final resting places of the deceased, giving rise to local superstitions and reports of disturbed spirits. Tales of coffins being unearthed during construction projects or bodies mysteriously vanishing fueled fears that the dead were not resting peacefully. In cities like Boston, New York, and Philadelphia, historic cemeteries such as Copp's Hill Terrace, Trinity Churchyard, and Christ Church Burial Ground became infamous for alleged paranormal activity, drawing both curiosity and fear from locals and visitors alike. Cultural influences also played a significant role in shaping the perception of haunted graveyards. European settlers brought with them folklore about ghosts, witches, and other supernatural beings, which blended with Native American spiritual traditions that revered ancestral spirits and sacred burial grounds. This fusion of beliefs led to the widespread notion that disturbing burial sites could awaken vengeful spirits or invite curses upon the living. Additionally, the Victorian era's obsession with mourning rituals, spiritualism, and seances further cemented the idea that the dead could communicate with the living, reinforcing the belief that graveyards were portals between worlds. During this time, mediums and self-proclaimed psychics claimed to channel messages from the beyond, often citing cemeteries as powerful conduits for supernatural communication. As the 20th century progressed, haunted graveyards became a staple of American horror fiction, film, and television. Classic literature such as Edgar Allan Poe's short stories and Shirley Jackson's The Lottery explored themes of death, guilt, and the supernatural, often set in eerie, forgotten burial grounds. Horror films like the Amityville Horror and Poltergeist depicted haunted homes built on former burial sites, reinforcing the idea that disturbed graves could unleash malevolent forces. Meanwhile, real-life paranormal investigations conducted by groups such as the Atlantic Paranormal Society, TAPS, and Ghost Hunters International brought attention to allegedly haunted cemeteries across the country, fueling public interest in the supernatural. Today, with the rise of YouTube paranormal channels and true crime documentaries, haunted graveyards continue to captivate audiences, blending history, mystery, and fear into a compelling narrative that keeps people coming back for more. Oak Hill Cemetery, Washington, D.C. Nestled in the heart of Georgetown, Washington, D.C., Oak Hill Cemetery stands as a serene yet eerily mysterious burial ground, rich in history and haunted by whispers of the past. Established in 1849, this Victorian-era cemetery was designed as a garden of the dead, offering a tranquil resting place for the city's elite, including politicians, diplomats, and notable figures such as Supreme Court Justice Joseph Story and Commodore Stephen Decatur. However, beneath its picturesque landscapes and ornate mausoleums lies a darker side, one filled with ghostly encounters, unexplained phenomena, and chilling legends that have cemented its reputation as one of the most haunted cemeteries in the nation's capital. One of the most famous paranormal accounts associated with Oak Hill Cemetery revolves around the Decatur House, a historic mansion located just beyond the cemetery's entrance. Commodore Stephen Decatur, a celebrated naval hero of the early 19th century, once lived in this grand estate with his wife, Susan. Tragedy struck when Decatur was killed in a duel in 1820, and his body was laid to rest in Oak Hill Cemetery. According to legend, Susan never truly recovered from her husband's death and continued to reside in the house, refusing to move away from his final resting place. It is said that she would spend hours wandering the cemetery at night, dressed in black, speaking to her late husband's tombstone. After her death, visitors and nearby residents began reporting strange occurrences near the Decatur house and cemetery, phantom footsteps echoing through empty hallways, flickering lights, and the faint sound of a woman sobbing in the distance. Some claim to have seen a shadowy figure resembling Susan pacing near the Decatur family plot, forever searching for her lost love. Another chilling tale linked to Oak Hill Cemetery involves the ghost of a young girl who is said to appear near the Van Ness Mausoleum, one of the cemetery's most striking structures. Built in the early 1800s, the mausoleum houses the remains of Maria Van Ness, a woman who died under tragic circumstances. According to local lore, Maria fell ill shortly after giving birth to her daughter, and despite the best efforts of doctors, she passed away. Her infant child survived but was later sent away to live with relatives. It is said that Maria's spirit remained bound to the cemetery, longing for her lost child. Visitors have reported seeing a small girl in a white dress playing near the mausoleum, only for her to vanish when approached. Others claim to hear the soft lullabies of a mother humming in the distance, though no one is ever present. Some paranormal investigators have captured what they believe to be children's laughter and faint whispers on audio recordings, adding to the unsettling aura that surrounds the Van Ness Mausoleum. Paranormal investigators have visited Oak Hill Cemetery multiple times, attempting to document any evidence of the supernatural. Infrared cameras have captured fleeting images of humanoid shapes standing near old burial plots, while EMF detectors have registered unusual spikes in energy levels near certain gravestones. One particularly intriguing case involved a group of investigators who recorded a voice on their digital recorder asking, "Why did you leave me?" a phrase that reportedly echoed through the cemetery before fading into silence. While skeptics argue that such findings could be attributed to environmental factors or technical anomalies, believers see them as proof that something otherworldly lingers within Oak Hill Cemetery. Despite its haunting reputation, Oak Hill Cemetery remains a popular destination for history enthusiasts, tourists, and paranormal investigators. Its lush greenery, intricate stonework, and breathtaking architecture offer a glimpse into a bygone era, while the eerie atmosphere and ghostly tales keep visitors on edge. Whether these spirits are merely figments of imagination or remnants of lives once lived, one thing is certain: Oak Hill Cemetery holds secrets that refuse to be forgotten. Mount Hope Cemetery, San Diego, California. Perched along the scenic hills of San Diego, Mount Hope Cemetery is one of the oldest and most historically significant burial grounds in California. Established in 1869, it serves as the final resting place for thousands of individuals, including pioneers, veterans, and early settlers of the region. However, beneath its serene beauty and rolling landscapes lies a darker side, one filled with ghostly legends, eerie encounters, and unexplained phenomena that have earned it a reputation as one of Southern California's most haunted cemeteries. Among the many spectral figures believed to wander its grounds, none are as infamous as the Phantom Hitchhiker of Mount Hope, a ghostly woman whose tragic story continues to haunt those who visit. According to local legend, the Phantom Hitchhiker was once a young woman named Maria Echegoyen, who lived in San Diego during the early 20th century. She worked as a nurse at a local hospital and was known for her kindness and dedication to her patients. In 1926, Maria accepted a ride home from a stranger after finishing a late shift at work. Tragically, the driver turned out to be a violent criminal who abducted and murdered her, leaving her body hidden somewhere near Mount Hope Cemetery. Her remains were eventually discovered, and she was given a proper burial within the cemetery's grounds. Since then, numerous visitors and passers-by have reported encountering a ghostly figure resembling Maria, appearing as a young woman in a nurse's uniform, hitchhiking along the roads near Mount Hope. Many drivers claim to have picked up the mysterious hitchhiker, only to experience bizarre occurrences during the ride. Some describe feeling an overwhelming sense of sadness or dread as soon as she enters the vehicle. Others report that the radio suddenly begins playing old songs from the 1920s, or that the air inside the car grows unbearably cold. Most unsettling of all, witnesses say that when they glance into the rearview mirror, the woman vanishes without a trace, leaving behind only an eerie silence. Some speculate that Maria's spirit is still trying to make her way home, trapped in an endless cycle of seeking help from unsuspecting motorists. Others believe she appears as a warning, attempting to prevent others from suffering the same fate. Mount Hope Cemetery, San Diego, California. Perched along the scenic hills of San Diego, Mount Hope Cemetery is one of the oldest and most historically significant burial grounds in California. Established in 1869, it serves as the final resting place for thousands of individuals, including pioneers, veterans, and early settlers of the region. However, beneath its serene beauty and rolling landscapes lies a darker side, one filled with ghostly legends, eerie encounters, and unexplained phenomena that have earned it a reputation as one of Southern California's most haunted cemeteries. Among the many spectral figures believed to wander its grounds, none are as infamous as the Phantom Hitchhiker of Mount Hope, a ghostly woman whose tragic story continues to haunt those who visit. According to local legend, the Phantom Hitchhiker was once a young woman named Maria Echegoyen, who lived in San Diego during the early 20th century. She worked as a nurse at a local hospital and was known for her kindness and dedication to her patients. In 1926, Maria accepted a ride home from a stranger after finishing a late shift at work. Tragically, the driver turned out to be a violent criminal who abducted and murdered her, leaving her body hidden somewhere near Mount Hope Cemetery. Her remains were eventually discovered, and she was given a proper burial within the cemetery's grounds. Since then, numerous visitors and passers-by have reported encountering a ghostly figure resembling Maria, appearing as a young woman in a nurse's uniform, hitchhiking along the roads near Mount Hope. Many drivers claim to have picked up the mysterious hitchhiker, only to experience bizarre occurrences during the ride. Some describe feeling an overwhelming sense of sadness or dread as soon as she enters the vehicle. Others report that the radio suddenly begins playing old songs from the 1920s, or that the air inside the car grows unbearably cold. Most unsettling of all, witnesses say that when they glance into the rearview mirror, the woman vanishes without a trace, leaving behind only an eerie silence. Some speculate that Maria's spirit is still trying to make her way home, trapped in an endless cycle of seeking help from unsuspecting motorists. Others believe she appears as a warning, attempting to prevent others from suffering the same fate. Lafayette Cemetery No. 1, New Orleans, Louisiana. Few cemeteries in the United States carry the same level of mystique and supernatural intrigue as Lafayette Cemetery No. 1 in New Orleans, Louisiana. Nestled in the heart of the historic Garden District, this iconic burial ground is a testament to the city's rich Creole heritage, boasting above-ground tombs, intricate ironwork, and centuries-old crypts. Established in 1833, Lafayette Cemetery No. 1 was once the final resting place for many of New Orleans' wealthiest families, as well as immigrants, freed slaves, and prominent citizens of the 19th century. However, beyond its architectural splendor and historical significance, the cemetery is widely regarded as one of the most haunted places in the French Quarter, with a reputation for eerie encounters, ghostly sightings, and whispered legends that continue to send chills down the spines of visitors. One of the most infamous spirits said to haunt Lafayette Cemetery No. 1 is the Lady in Red, a ghostly figure believed to be the spirit of a woman who met a tragic end. According to local lore, she was once a beautiful socialite who fell in love with a man forbidden to her, perhaps a married man, a rival from another family, or even someone of a different social class. Heartbroken and desperate, she is said to have taken her own life within the cemetery's grounds, choosing to die surrounded by the dead rather than face a life without love. Ever since, witnesses claim to have seen a woman in a flowing red gown wandering among the tombs, her face obscured by a veil, her eyes filled with sorrow. Some say she approaches visitors, only to vanish before they can speak to her, while others describe hearing faint sobs echoing through the alleyways of crypts long after sunset. Tour guides and paranormal investigators alike have reported strange happenings in areas where she is frequently sighted: sudden drops in temperature, flickering lanterns, and the unmistakable scent of roses wafting through the air despite the absence of any flowers. Another legendary specter tied to Lafayette Cemetery No. 1 is the ghost of a child, often described as a young boy dressed in 19th century clothing. His presence is said to be felt near a particular section of the cemetery where many children were buried due to disease outbreaks that plagued New Orleans in the 1800s. Locals tell stories of hearing the faint pitter-patter of small feet running through the narrow passageways between tombs, only to find no one there when they turn around. Some claim to have seen the boy playing with a ball near the entrance of the cemetery, vanishing whenever someone tries to approach him. Unlike the more ominous hauntings, this spirit is generally considered harmless, and some believe he is simply reliving the moments of childhood joy he was denied in life. Still, the sight of a lone child wandering through a cemetery long after visiting hours can be unnerving, especially when no explanation seems to account for his presence. Beyond individual ghost stories, Lafayette Cemetery No. 1 is also steeped in darker legends involving voodoo practitioners and occult rituals. Given its proximity to the French Quarter, long associated with voodoo traditions, the cemetery has been linked to rumors of secret ceremonies held beneath its crypts. Some tales speak of hooded figures gathering at midnight, performing incantations that summon spirits from beyond the grave. Others warn of cursed tombs that should never be disturbed, lest they unleash malevolent forces upon the living. While much of this is likely exaggerated folklore, the cemetery's atmospheric setting, dimly lit pathways, crumbling stone walls, and the distant hum of jazz drifting from Bourbon Street, only adds to the sense that something otherworldly lingers within its confines. St. Louis Cemetery No. 1, New Orleans, Louisiana. Among the most notorious and enigmatic burial grounds in the United States, St. Louis Cemetery No. 1 in New Orleans stands as a haunting testament to the city's deep-rooted connection with the supernatural. Established in 1789, this historic cemetery is one of the oldest surviving burial sites in New Orleans, predating the Louisiana Purchase and serving as the final resting place for many of the city's earliest settlers, prominent figures, and even infamous individuals whose legacies continue to inspire fear and fascination. Located just outside the French Quarter, the cemetery is a labyrinth of towering above-ground tombs, elaborate mausoleums, and weathered gravestones, each bearing silent witness to centuries of history and horror. One of the most infamous occupants of St. Louis Cemetery No. 1 is Baron Samedi, the legendary voodoo Loa spirit, associated with death and the underworld. Though Baron Samedi is not a historical figure in the traditional sense, his influence looms large over the cemetery, particularly around the tomb believed to belong to Henri Salvador, a 19th-century voodoo priest and healer. Over time, myths surrounding Salvador merge with the mythology of Baron Samedi, leading many to believe that his tomb is imbued with powerful spiritual energy. Greyfriars Kirkyard, Edinburgh, Scotland. While our focus has primarily centered on haunted graveyards within the United States, one international location deserves special mention for its profound impact on the global fascination with the supernatural: Greyfriars Kirkyard in Edinburgh, Scotland. Though not located in America, Greyfriars has inspired countless ghost stories, literary works, and cinematic adaptations that have shaped the broader horror genre, including American interpretations of haunted burial grounds. This historic cemetery, dating back to the 16th century, is infamous for its association with dark legends, eerie occurrences, and one of the most beloved yet unsettling ghost stories of all time, the tale of Greyfriars Bobby. Situated just south of Edinburgh Castle, Greyfriars Kirkyard has long been shrouded in mystery, largely due to its ties to witchcraft trials, political executions, and tales of restless spirits. The cemetery was established in 1561 and quickly became a central burial ground for prominent Scottish figures, including Lord Advocate Sir George Mackenzie, whose brutal persecution of accused witches earned him the nickname Bloody Mackenzie. His mausoleum, a grand structure within the kirkyard, has become infamous for its supposed curse, one that has terrified visitors for centuries. According to legend, those who sit upon the lid of Mackenzie's tomb risk falling victim to an unseen force that drags them into a state of paralysis, panic, or even madness. Reports of sudden nosebleeds, suffocating pressure, and visions of shadowy figures have led many to believe that Mackenzie's spirit harbors resentment toward intruders, punishing them for disturbing his eternal rest. Beyond the horrors associated with Bloody Mackenzie, Greyfriars Kirkyard is also home to one of the most heartwarming yet haunting ghost stories in history: Greyfriars Bobby, the loyal Skye Terrier who supposedly spent 14 years guarding his master's grave. According to the legend, Bobby's owner, John Gray, a night watchman for the City of Edinburgh Police, passed away in 1858 and was buried in Greyfriars. Determined to stay by his master's side, Bobby refused to leave the kirkyard, surviving on scraps provided by locals and the church minister. When the dog finally passed away in 1872, he was buried just outside the gates of Greyfriars, as animals were not permitted within consecrated ground. However, the story took a supernatural twist when some claimed that Bobby's spirit continued to roam the cemetery, appearing as a spectral canine watching over John Gray's grave. Sightings of a small, misty dog patrolling the kirkyard at night have persisted for decades, adding an eerie layer to the otherwise touching tale of loyalty and devotion. The impact of haunted graveyards on local communities. Haunted graveyards are more than just eerie destinations for thrill-seekers and paranormal enthusiasts. They often play a significant role in shaping the identity and economy of the communities that surround them. In many towns and cities, these cemeteries have become cultural landmarks, attracting tourists, inspiring local legends, and even influencing the development of regional folklore. For some communities, haunted graveyards serve as a source of pride, preserving historical narratives while simultaneously generating revenue through tourism, ghost tours, and media exposure. However, this dual existence as both a sacred burial ground and a commercial attraction can lead to complex tensions between preservation, profit, and the ethical treatment of the deceased. One of the most noticeable effects of haunted graveyards on local communities is their ability to draw in visitors from across the country, and even internationally. Towns that are home to notoriously haunted cemeteries often capitalize on their eerie reputations by organizing seasonal events such as ghost walks, seance nights, and paranormal investigation workshops. These activities provide economic benefits to local businesses, including hotels, restaurants, souvenir shops, and tour companies. In places like Salem, Massachusetts, where the old Burying Point Cemetery is linked to the infamous Salem witch trials, tourism related to the supernatural plays a crucial role in the town's economy. Similarly, in New Orleans, The popularity of St. Louis Cemetery No. 1 and Lafayette Cemetery No. 1 has made them integral parts of the city's tourism industry, with guided tours and themed experiences drawing thousands of visitors each year. Beyond economic incentives, haunted graveyards also contribute to the cultural identity of a region. Many communities take great care in maintaining the stories and traditions associated with their local burial grounds, passing them down through generations. Oral histories, folktales, and even written records help preserve the supernatural lore connected to these sites, ensuring that they remain relevant in contemporary discussions of the paranormal. In some cases, local historians and storytellers collaborate with tour guides and filmmakers to ensure that the historical accuracy of these graveyards is upheld while still allowing room for the imaginative embellishments that make them so compelling. The line between fact and fiction often blurs in these narratives, but this ambiguity is part of what makes haunted graveyards so fascinating to the public. For many who have ventured into haunted graveyards, the experience goes beyond mere curiosity. It becomes a deeply personal encounter with the unknown. Countless individuals have shared their first-hand accounts of eerie sensations, ghostly apparitions, and inexplicable phenomena that left them questioning the nature of life, death, and the afterlife. Whether they arrived seeking answers, thrills, or closure, these visitors often leave with more questions than they came with, haunted by memories they cannot easily explain. One such testimony comes from Emily Carter, a paranormal investigator who visited Oak Hill Cemetery in Washington, D.C. on a routine research trip. She described the moment she first felt the presence of something beyond the ordinary. "I was walking alone near the Decatur house when I noticed the temperature drop dramatically. My breath started forming clouds, even though it wasn't that cold outside. Then I heard a woman crying, not loudly, but softly, like she was trying to hide her grief. I followed the sound, but there was no one there. Just an empty bench near the cemetery gate." Emily, who prides herself on being skeptical, admitted that the experience unsettled her in a way she hadn't expected. "I don't believe in ghosts in the traditional sense," she explained, "but whatever I encountered that night was real. I couldn't explain it, and I still can't." Similarly, Daniel Ruiz, a high school history teacher from San Diego, recounted his visit to Mount Hope Cemetery, where he had gone to photograph the older sections for a lesson on Victorian-era burial practices. What started as a simple field trip quickly turned into an unsettling encounter. "I was adjusting my camera near the Van Ness Mausoleum when I saw a little boy in old-fashioned clothes chasing a ball," Daniel recalled. "He ran right past me, laughing, and disappeared behind a row of tombstones. When I walked over to see where he went, there was no one there. No footprints, no sound, just silence." Despite initially dismissing the sighting as a trick of the light, Daniel later learned from a local historian that a child had indeed been buried in that exact area over a century ago. "It gave me chills," he admitted. "I don't know what I saw, but it definitely changed how I think about cemeteries." As we draw this journey to a close, it's important to reflect on what makes haunted graveyards such enduring sources of fascination. These sacred spaces are more than just collections of tombstones and crypts. They are living repositories of history, emotion, and mystery. Each graveyard we explored in this series carries with it a unique story, shaped by the lives that were lived, the tragedies that unfolded, and the lingering echoes of those who refused to be forgotten. Whether you believe in ghosts or remain skeptical of the supernatural, there is an undeniable allure to these places that transcends time and culture. Haunted graveyards serve as a bridge between the past and the present, reminding us that death is not always the end of a story. They offer a glimpse into the fears, hopes, and beliefs of generations long gone, while also inviting us to confront our own thoughts about mortality and the unknown. Some visit these sites seeking answers, others in search of thrills, but all who step into these hallowed grounds leave with something intangible, a sense of connection to something greater than themselves. The whispers of the wind through ancient oak trees, the flickering shadows at dusk, and the inexplicable chills that run down one's spine, these are the moments that make haunted graveyards so compelling. Yet, beyond the eerie legends and ghostly tales, there is a deeper lesson to be learned from these burial grounds. They remind us of the importance of remembrance, of honoring those who came before us, and of treating sacred spaces with the respect they deserve. Whether you're drawn to the paranormal or simply intrigued by history, visiting a haunted graveyard can be a profound experience, one that encourages reflection, curiosity, and a deeper appreciation for the mysteries of life and death. So, if you ever find yourself standing at the gates of a haunted cemetery, take a moment to listen, not just for the sounds of the supernatural, but for the stories embedded in the stones beneath your feet. Because even in silence, these graveyards speak volumes, carrying the voices of the past into the present, waiting for someone willing to hear them.